This is Kevin Corbett, President and CEO of New Jersey Transit. Good to see you.
Thank you, Steve.
Let's do this. The job, how would you describe it? How many people commute every day, by the way?
We have about 950,000 on a weekday, yeah.
Trains,
and buses, about roughly two-thirds bus, one-third train.
You don't need this. Listen, you could watch NJTV News every night and other great broadcasts around, even though none are that good, and find out what's going on a regular basis. Top two issues you face at New Jersey Transit are?
Top two is certainly personnel, qualified personnel operations.
You don't have enough engineers?
That's right.
How did that happen?
It was, people were saying, oh, did you lose them to other railroads? And there was a little bit of that, but mainly it was we stopped training engineers. So as they retired, we weren't training the next generation of backfill.
Because?
I don't...
Can we call that bad planning? Seriously, because they're going to retire.
Yeah, there were people in the organization who knew. The head of our rail ops, those people, they knew, and they would request, and the request for training programs and training classes was rejected for budget reasons or other reasons.
So the personnel's one. But when it comes to the delayed trains, right, or the trains doesn't come at all, how does that happen? Is that an infrastructure,
a combination
thing?
The number one cause of canceled trains is engineers, lack of engineers. But then you get into the next thing down is mechanical issues, either on the, particularly we're talking about rail. I mean, buses, we move,
sure.
Is another issue, but people judge us a lot by the rail. And there it's the mechanical, either the signal system, catenary problems, which in the Northeast Corridor is Amtrak, actually, we run on.
What's the deal with Amtrak?
Amtrak, they've been, anybody who's in our field, over a 20-year period, you have periods where you get some funding and then you're starved, you get these cycles. So Amtrak went through a rough period, and rather than going at war with each other, the last year really spent a lot of time focusing where can we pool our resources, work together, and we've made a lot of progress with Amtrak last year. But they've got that's a 100-year-old system they're operating.
It's interesting. You've talked to commuters, and by the way, we want to make sure in the future we have one of the commuter advocates here talking about these issues as well. How frustrating is it for you to see how frustrating it is for commuters every day?
What is? I'm a commuter every day. I've been commuting on the M&E for 20-plus years.
What's the M&E?
Morris and Essex,
okay.
from coming in from Morristown. And I've seen where the system started going downhill, and you feel it. I think a lot of the frustration is even over this year, our metrics have become significantly better. Long way to go, but we're.
What does that mean, the metrics?
Our on-time performance or canceled trains are down. We're October this last month was we're down 41 cancellations. Were 41% than last year. So our on-time performance is up 3%, up to almost 92% on time. Far from where we want to be. Rail industry, I would say, is 95% on-time performance to where you want to be, if not higher. But the accumulated frustration of a lot of riders, it's, there's the tree falls on a catenary or there's a suicide or something. As a commuter, you realize once in a while these things happen. You sort of, driving it has its downfalls too. So, but it's a cumulative effect year after year, and you're tired of being, BS. When are we really going to see some results? Where's the light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing?
By the way, if you're listening on the audio side, Kevin Corbett is the president and CEO of New Jersey Transit. Let me ask you this. We've done a lot of programming on the American Dream Project, that little initiative out on Route 3, right, in the middle. A lot of the discussion beyond where they are, where they're not, when it's opening, what's opening, et cetera, is the discussion around the role of New Jersey Transit in moving people in and out of American Dream. Where are we with that, and where are we not?
Yeah, I think where we are, certainly number one priority for us is taking care of our regular commuters. So our basic service, we have to do that right. But when we look at the economic potential and how do we help the state's economy, it's not transportation for transportation's sake, that gets into how do we make sure that MetLife Stadium is successful, and then how do we help American Dream be successful?
Yeah, but okay, so...
and we're part of the American Dream solution, but not all of it. They have a comprehensive transportation.
After the Super Bowl, right? We had that situation with the Super Bowl, tons of people
right.
that are waiting. How much does that adversely, negatively impact the, quote, reputation and brand of New Jersey Transit when a very public crisis like that happens?
Oh, I think there's no doubt it hurts the brand, and it's not good for the state's reputation either. You want to host events, you want to be successful. That was years ago, and there's a whole batch of post-mortem on that predates me. But the one thing we did when we had a problem with one of our programs early last summer, with one concert or one event, we worked with MetLife. People say, okay, what do we need to do to make sure that doesn't happen again? How do we get it right? Part of it is scheduling trains, just like airline pilots,
Right.
train pilots, train engineers, time out. So we had to make sure that we adjusted the schedule to make sure we had the back end covered for trains, and we more heavily invested in bus up front so that we could really ramp up better. And since then, we've had a great experience with MetLife.
A couple of things I'm curious about. State funding for New Jersey Transit. We actually had Senator Patrick Dignan is the chair of the Senate Transportation Committee as we speak. There's also a select Senate committee, legislative committee, looking at New Jersey Transit that the Senate President, Steve Sweeney, will in fact be chairing. But I'm curious, in that interview with Senator Dignan, who chairs the Transportation Committee, he was very critical of the Christie administration in terms of state dollars dedicated to New Jersey Transit or not. And he said much of the problem is because of a lack of funding over those 8 years. Do you buy that argument?
Yeah, who to blame is one thing, but there's no doubt that there was over $500 million, $500 million a year in capital funding that was taken away to cover operating expenses.
Explain that to folks, capital versus operational funding.
So instead of buying rail cars, like if you're riding a 40-year-old rail car that had the type of the bouncy seats, those were meant to be replaced, 10 years ago. That's capital. So that $500 million that would have bought new rail cars and new buses was taken away to cover our operating expenses, paying salaries, et cetera.
What happens when that happens?
Well, just think of, Havana with those old American cars, that are for the 1960s, and you're trying to keep them running. We have 50-year-old train engines, 40-year-old rail cars. So the breakdowns are more frequent, all those kind of problems. So that really, there's no doubt that funding was critical.
Sorry for interrupting,
Sure.
President Corbett. I'm curious about this. What the heck is the problem? I'm a student of communication. Why it happens, why it doesn't happen, why the message sent doesn't equal message received. Here's the question. Why is it so difficult to communicate to commuters if the train's not coming, when the train's not coming or coming? What's the problem with communication?
Well,
you can't blame that on Christie.
No, and the two things. One is communication. If you look at, like an airline pilot, if you're having a problem on the train, your focus is on making sure you fly the plane, not communicating. And what happens on the operational level, they're going to the, on the rail side mainly.
Sure.
You're going back to the center saying, hey, our trains.
What about the people waiting?
Well, that's the issue. By FRA rules, conductors are not allowed to have cell phones. It's a violation of safety rules. So the people on the trains nowadays, they get more information on the cell phone than the conductors have. So
shouldn't we adjust those regulations based on the way people communicate today, based on social media?
I think you can do it safely, and we're working with the FRA and
the FRA is the
Federal Railway Administration in Washington. But if you look at Amtrak, for example, you get your ticket, they scan it. But those devices also get communication from headquarters that say this is what's going on ahead of you, so they can communicate that. Yes, we are. We're in the process of doing that.
Come back 6 months from now.
We'll
give us an update.
Yeah, we'll do.
This has been Kevin Corbett, President and CEO of New Jersey Transit. We thank you for coming in and answering these and other tough questions. You've been out there on a regular basis, and we wish you, but more importantly, frankly, the folks who rely on New Jersey Transit all the best.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you. Stay there. I'm Steve Adubato. We'll be right back.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by Holy Name Medical Center, New Jersey Resources, NJIT, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the New Jersey Education Association, International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, and by Community Food Bank of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by Insider NJ and by NJ Advance Media.